On this episode of the MEGJC Matrix, we look at the housing portfolio. The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation is spearheading transformative initiatives to address Jamaica's perennial housing challenges, which have persisted since the 1950s due to population growth, rural-urban migration, and a rising demand for housing that far exceeds supply. Guided by the National Housing Policy and Implementation Plan, the government is committed to creating safe, affordable, and adequate housing options that foster inclusive communities while respecting Jamaica's unique culture and environment. This policy outlines ambitious targets, including producing 15,000 new housing units annually by 2030 and addressing a quality deficit by repairing 2,400 units each year. Through public-private partnerships, expanded housing finance solutions, and targeted subsidies, the government aims to bridge the affordability gap and expand access to housing for all income levels. As of January 2025, initiatives like the new social housing program has delivered over 300 housing units with over 635 rooms across 57 constituencies, positively impacting over 924 Jamaicans, and we have 50 active projects underway. Over $100 million has been spent in social housing grants, and the government is providing tangible support to vulnerable groups. So in today's feature discussion, joining us are Mr. Courtney Wynter, General Manager, and Ms. Patricia Burke, Director of Business Operations from the Jamaica Mortgage Bank, and Jared Johnson, Legal Officer from the Commission of Strata Corporations and the Real Estate Board, to discuss how these agencies are shaping the real estate landscape and supporting the government's mission to create a housing framework that meets the needs of all Jamaicans. Welcome to MEGJC Matrix.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with that was a mouthful by the way, because housing is everything, and right? If we were going to talk about housing from a MEGJC standpoint, we'd be here for longer than this episode allows. So I'm going to start with Mr. Wynter. Mr. Wynter, talk to us about the JMB. What's your mandate?
Well, the Jamaica Mortgage Bank, again, one of the biggest secrets in Jamaica. This is one of the three government housing agencies. Of course, most people will know of the NHT or even the HHA. Jamaica Mortgage Bank is about 52 years old. In fact, before there was a NHT, there was a Jamaica Mortgage Bank. And our primary mandate is to mobilize loan funds to public and private developers for the development of housing throughout the length and breadth of Jamaica. So we facilitate through financing the development of housing in Jamaica. And we do that through the primary mortgage market or secondary mortgage market, which we will explain a little further.
All right. How is the bank funded?
The Jamaica Mortgage Bank is a self-funded agency. And what that simply means is that we do not get subvention from government, or we do not use taxpayer money. So instead, we have a business model where we go to the financial markets, primarily our commercial banks and brokerage houses. We borrow, and we then take that money and on-lend to public and private developers for the purpose of building homes for Jamaicans, as well as some commercial development.
Okay, wonderful. Ms. Burke, we're going to segue to you. Talk to us about the primary mortgage market. What is that about, and how does it contribute to housing development?
All right. The primary mortgage market is where we provide interim construction financing to private developers as well as other corporations to build, and this includes residential as well as commercial complexes. And within this space, I would say that we are market leaders because we have been doing this over time. We are preferred in that we are able to structure and work with sometimes first-time developers, seasoned developers in providing housing solutions. So that's generally how we operate within the private mortgage market space.
Okay, are we talking about small solutions or large scale solutions? What are some of the projects that you have funded?
All right, so it's a wide gamut of projects ranging from service lots where the land is subdivided and then people can then purchase those lots and build on them. And we have done that in most recent times in St. Thomas in the provision of service lots. We have done detached housing developments right across the island again, not very small, but starter homes as well as medium-sized properties as well. We have also done multi-story properties, primarily in Kingston and St. Andrew, to cater to a wide sector of our society. Our mandate is really the provision of affordable housing, and we understand that that term is relative, but we're catering to young professionals, seasoned professionals, empty nesters. Once you want housing, then we provide that financing to the developers to cater to that market.
Those who are just starting out, young people want to own a house. They don't want to continuously pay rent. And I'll talk to the real estate person soon. But, they want to find affordable solutions. And so the JMB is providing investors and developers with that financing that they need to ensure that they can keep it at a price. I guess that's another discussion for another time. But what is it that you do that keeps attracting these developers to JMB?
Right. So again, we're over 50 years old. We know construction development, and we know construction financing. And so developers are attracted to JMB because of the value add that we bring. For example, we have a monitoring activity for people who we on-lend these funds. And so for free, we assist these developers in the whole construction of a project. So for example, we should have mentioned that 60% of Portmore, what you now know as Portmore, was developed financed by the Jamaica Mortgage Bank. Or recently, 138 student living on my UWI campus, Long Mountain. The value that we bring to these projects in terms of project management and construction management is what actually attract developers to us. In addition to that, we take risk with first-time developers. We're not afraid to fund even female developers. And so over the last 6 years, we have funded several female developers and new developers. We're talking about pastors. We're talking about persons who have changed their profession from IT professionals to go into development. Most of these developers always matriculate to large developers. So a number of the large developers that you're seeing now in the market actually started at the Jamaica Mortgage Bank. So we bring a lot of value to development financing in Jamaica.
That's a very interesting point that you just made just now regarding, females entering the sector as well and getting the same opportunities, not shying away and saying, boy, I won't get the same treatment as the men do, because, construction is kind of a male-dominated sector. So that's very good. So listeners, I hope that especially those of you who are females and you're young, and you heard that part about taking risks. They like to take a risk with new developers. Listen, you need to call the JMB if that's the area that you want to be in. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll continue with the Real Estate Board.
Any Jamaican who falls in the situation of having no means, no income, is the victim of unfortunate circumstances, there is a program where the government can intervene in your circumstances and assist you. All right? And that speaks to the core of the government, that whatever we do, we must ensure that the poor and the most vulnerable are never left behind. So 1 by 1, 5 by 5, 7 by 7, almost every week, we are handing over a home to a needy Jamaican. And that is a commitment of this government to ensure that we take care of the poor and most vulnerable in our society. Every day, one project at a time, one person at a time, Jamaica is moving from poverty to prosperity.
Welcome back to the MEGJC Matrix. We're going to talk back to the JMB soon, but let's check in with our friends at the Real Estate Board. And as I mentioned earlier, we have Mr. Jared Johnson, Legal Officer for the Commission of Strata Corporations and the Real Estate Board here with us today. Mr. Jared, can I call you Mr. Jared or should I call you Jared?
That's perfectly fine. That's perfect.
How are you doing?
I'm quite fine. I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. Listen, we want to hear about the Real Estate Board and the Strata Corporations of Jamaica. What is it that you do?
Right. So the Real Estate Board is the primary regulator of real estate business in Jamaica. And that encompasses a very wide cross-section of the private sector. So in the first instance, the Real Estate Board approves and registers persons for registration as a real estate salesman or a real estate dealer. And those are the persons who carry on the practice of real estate business. And real estate business can broadly be defined as the process of renting, buying, leasing, selling, appraising, auctioneering property on behalf of another person for valuable compensation. And what the board does, not only do we receive applications for registration of those persons and then issuing them a license that grants them permission to practice in Jamaica, we also take the initiative of training those persons through one of our dispensations known as the Real Estate Training Institute, commonly known as the RETI. And through there, we dispense bespoke courses that are tailored to real estate professionals. We have the pre-licensing salesman course and the pre-licensing dealers course, wherein persons who perhaps want to break into the real estate market as individuals buying and selling real estate for other persons can take those courses antecedent to their registration with the board. We also register and monitor development schemes throughout the island. So some of those real estate developers, both individual and corporate, some of whom might even be securing financing from the JMB, for example, they come through us. They present us with their approved plans and they register with us in order to then carry on the business of conducting the development scheme. And the purpose of the Real Estate Board when it comes to monitoring the real estate development schemes throughout the island is that we are primarily concerned with protecting purchasers' deposits. So when persons see an advertisement for example, lots for sale in a development scheme or constructed units in a multifamily scheme, for example, like an apartment complex, when they advance their monies to the developer with the promise that they'll get something in return by virtue of their sale agreements, the Real Estate Board conducts monitoring inspections to ensure that the purchaser is getting what they bargained for, and also to ensure that those monies are being used for the purpose that they ought to be used for, and to ensure that we don't run into a situation where a developer is unable to effect their contracts or is unable to continue or complete the development scheme, and because of that, the purchasers essentially have lost on their investment. The Commission of Strata Corporations is a sister entity which is separate from the Real Estate Board but shares many of the administrative functions. And the Commission's purpose is to monitor and supervise the activities of strata corporations throughout the island. And strata corporations are properties that essentially fall on a strata plan. They habitually share common external boundary walls as a block. So when you think about your normal apartment complexes, your commercial plazas, most of those are strata corporations. And what the Commission does is supervise their activities to ensure that the executive committees or the elected persons within those stratas who are collecting monies from the proprietors for the purpose of maintaining the common properties, your monthly maintenance, for example, that money is being spent in a way that benefits all proprietors, and also to ensure that all proprietors who have a vote and have a say in how that money gets spent, that they are protected. And if it's the case that they have a dispute within the Strata Corporation, they can also come to the commission and use our dispute resolution process for a nominal fee, which is much cheaper than going to the courts, for example. So earlier I spoke about RETI, the Real Estate Training Institute. Perhaps our most sterling accomplishment in the past couple of years, which was born out of the adversity of the COVID-19 pandemic, is that RETI has now gone fully online. It is 100% online, which certainly facilitates greater participation in our courses. Persons, for example, can sign on to their classes, at home, perhaps after work, wherever they are, in order to better themselves or to equip themselves with the skills that are being imparted to them through those courses, if it is that they want to go into that kind of career. We have recently appointed our first senior director or principal of the RETI, who has undergone a massive transformation of the institute. And in doing so, we have also instituted a learning management system through the LMS, which allows for continuing professional development of real estate salesmen and dealers, so that they can pay for their CPD courses online and simply do them at their leisure. It's completely, entirely self-paced. They don't have to schedule a seminar to sit down in a room with a tutor. They can pay for the courses, get a direct link, and watch it at their own pace, right?
Wonderful, wonderful. Now let's explore the broader impact of the Jamaica Mortgage Bank and its vision for the future. But just before I go back to the Mortgage Bank, though, I want to go back to Jared regarding the Real Estate Board. Your initiatives have played a crucial role in shaping policies that have guided the sector. How does the board contribute to national growth and development?
Certainly. So job creation is the first head. So the private real estate industry essentially does its work through real estate salesmen and real estate dealers. And those persons are trained, registered, licensed, as well as supervised by the real estate board. So an entire cross-section of the private real estate industry is supported by the efforts of the real estate board when it comes to our monitoring inspections, our inquiries into the conduct of the real estate business of real estate salesmen and dealers, and our policing or regulation of the industry. We ensure that persons who are fit and proper for the real estate industry are those that are registered and those that are granted a license. And we also hear and receive complaints from members of the public where it is that some dealers or salesmen might run afoul of their code of ethics. And as a result, we might have to take disciplinary action against them. So that is the first head. We also contribute to national development through the registering and supervision of real estate development schemes, as I spoke about earlier. For many Jamaicans, a piece of real estate is the single largest investment that they might explore or they might acquire in their lifetime. And our efforts through monitoring and supervising real estate development schemes and ensuring that purchasers in these schemes get what it is that they have bargained for, and taking steps when it is that the developer has reneged on their obligations with a view to making those purchasers whole, allows for a bit more comfort when it comes to investing in real estate throughout the island, because any purchaser can simply check with the real estate board, ensure that a scheme is monitored, that is registered, and if it is that they have a complaint, they know where to go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to jump right back to the JMB. We're just talking about real estate and developers and what their roles and responsibilities are. Earlier, you spoke about the primary mortgage. No, you have something that is called secondary mortgage. What's that about, Mr. Wynter?
Right. So the secondary market in general is the creation of a marketplace where there is the buying and selling of securities. In the case of secondary mortgage market, it's really the buying and the selling of mortgages. And so one of the mandates of the Jamaica Mortgage Bank is to operate in the secondary mortgage market. And what the objective of that is really to provide liquidity to the market so that we can continue to provision housing in Jamaica. Simple example of how it operates in the Jamaica Mortgage Bank is that the loan funds that we acquire in the capital markets, we unlend that, for example, to credit unions. Now, some of the credit union members may not be contributors to the NHT and would not get a benefit from the NHT. So by providing this pool of funds to the credit unions, they then unlend those funds to their membership, who might not necessarily get a benefit from NHT for the provision of housing. We then come behind that and package those receivables, which is called mortgage receivables, and then as an aggregator or a broker, and then we sell those in the market to investors, primarily to the building societies. So that's how we operate in the secondary mortgage markets, really to find out innovative ways to provide liquidity in the market so that individuals could get either a mortgage or providing liquidity so we can continue to provide housing for Jamaicans.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. We're going to just jump now to mortgage indemnity insurance, Ms. Burke. What is that?
So mortgage indemnity insurance is a default risk insurance administered by the Jamaica Mortgage Bank on behalf of the government of Jamaica. So it's really a product by the government of Jamaica, and that is embedded in the Mortgage Insurance Act. Now, with the mortgage indemnity insurance, it really protects lenders in the event of default by borrowers. So there are many benefits both to the lenders as well as the borrowers. So we operate with approved financial institutions who then upsells that to their clients, and then they request approval from the Jamaica Mortgage Bank for coverage. Now, what it means for the lender is that they are able to increase their loan stock. So they are able to lend more because they can take a little bit more risk.
Like how much more?
Well, let's look at an example. Normally, lenders would lend like about 90% or 70%, depending on their risk. But with MII, they can go up to a maximum of 97%. So with that increased coverage, they're able to do more business. Now, for the borrower, there are also benefits. It means with the 97% financing, you only are required to come up with 3% deposit. Yeah. That's the good thing about the mortgage indemnity insurance.
It should be shorted that Jamaica.
So we want Jamaica to know that it facilitates earlier home ownership. So imagine you see a property for $10 million, just using an example. Normally, it would be, the average is like 10% deposit, which would mean a deposit of $1 million. But with MII, just 3% deposit is required, which is just $300,000. So instead of waiting to save up to $1 million, at least the 3% deposit would bring you closer to that dream of acquiring your own home.
Thank you so very much, lady and gentlemen. Thank you so much, very much for being a part of our housing conversation this afternoon on the MEGJC Matrix.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so there you have it, listeners. We are at the end of the MEGJC Matrix. We hope that you got a wealth of information and now you know exactly what it is that the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and our agencies are doing. The combined efforts of our agencies are creating a more stable, resilient, and inclusive future for all Jamaicans. Remember to follow us on all platforms at MEGJC_JM and our website at megjc.gov.jm for more information. This has been season 2 of The Matrix. Bye-bye.